not only have the book and to sell it at such a reasonable price. My goodness. I mean, the book's up there on Amazon. You could spend 15, $20 for a very well, informational book, and yours is very inexpensive. But also then to allow people to contact you directly at this rookiewritersolutions.com, right? Is that a website?
Correct.
Or is that that must
That's
be a
website.
website? Yeah.
Yes,
Okay.
that's my website.
And what could people expect when they go to your website? How to navigate around there? What do you have on the website?
Well, I've got a bunch of different tools. I'll give tips every now and again, the tip of the day, to such as how to summarize your novel. There's tips like that I have on there. They can request the first chapter for free of both the how-to guide as well as Solving Secrets if they're interested. I have some helpful links out there to help folks navigate through different things that good for marketing, places that they can go that would that is free that they can join, such as Goodreads. I also have things to help them with their self-publishing. Library of Congress number if they're interested in getting that. The ebook conversion, I have a free tutorial that they can download for that. Press releases that you can go and learn how to create a press release, and as well as book covers for sale. I have some pre-made book covers that are out there that they can purchase as well for very, very affordable. And then every week I'm posting on my blog with information to help different avenues with, researching I talk about, or how if you should write a series or not write a series. They can follow along on my blog as well.
And your blog would be accessible at the website, is that right?
Yes, correct.
Oh, man. Well, you are just a font of information here, Robin. This is going to be wonderful for... there are. I'm a baby boomer myself, 66 years old, and have always been interested in writing. I kept a journal most of my life, that kind of thing. But there's a lot of young people out there now, I think, that are getting into that mode of finding out how therapeutic writing actually can be.
Yes, very much so. It's that was sort of how that all developed for me. I used to ask my husband, or it was probably around 2006 when my writing began, and I would say, what is my passion? At the time, I was trying to figure it out, and it just sort of happened. And when I was done writing, after a few hours, I'd realized, gee, it's lunchtime and I was getting hungry, and I'd been sitting there for 3-4 hours. You don't even realize it. That's when I discovered it was like, oh, okay, that's what that means for a passion. It was such an amazing outlet for me, and you can tell that the feeling that you got after you were done with a writing session like that, and all the crazy that's in my head and all the voices that are talking to me, but you can finally put it to paper. It's very exciting.
Oh, definitely. And you're describing what I call the zone, that
Exactly.
you get into as a writer, where time just disappears on you.
Yep.
You even have an outline of what you're kind of attempting to get on paper, and then all of a sudden something happens. There's a download or something that comes to you. You just keep going in a different direction that you never even thought of, initially.
Yes, exactly. That happens a lot to me. I'll sometimes, and every writer is different on how they sit down. Some people tell you just sit and write, and there are times that I've done that, but I can't really. I'm the kind of writer that I can't push myself to do it. It's got to be very natural. It's not a chore for me. So to push myself to do it, it doesn't work for me. I kind of shut down that way. But when I get that creative flow going, and I may be researching something on a certain topic or learn something new, and then my brain just takes off, and it's just kind of crazy that you're in a frenzy sometimes that you can't get the information down on paper quick enough.
Yes, and do you happen to have like a routine that you like to, like if you're in the middle of a book and you don't necessarily have a deadline, but you really want to get this thing pushed along there? Do you usually write in the morning, in the evening? Is there a certain time you like to be creative?
Yeah, I do. Mornings are best for me. I do my virtual admin work during the week, and my brain is kind of on a different side of my brain. I'm using focusing to do that kind of a thing. The creative writing is more for me on the weekends, and I can do that really anywhere. I do need a lot of quiet. Some people can have music in the background or noises around, but I do have to have a lot of quiet when I'm doing my writing. And it can be anywhere from 500 to 2,000 words. I don't really put any pressure on myself. Sometimes if I'm doing research, that takes more time, before I get into the writing deal. I will journal things down and take notes and whatnot and then come back to it. But at any given time, I could spend 2 to 3 hours nonstop, and then I'm kind of done. Then you kind of shut down. I'll finish a scene, and then I kind of have to shut off, because sometimes I do write on the fly, and I got to come up with a new concept. Or sometimes you hit a brick wall, and you have to find another way to switch the story around, But that's the beauty of it,
Yes. Yeah, that's the beauty of these word processors that we have, the computers and even iPhones nowadays. By the way, what kind of hardware do you usually like to write on? Do you have a full-blown desktop computer that you use, or can you use your laptop or anything like that?
I just use my laptop. It's the easiest way to take it with me and to write anywhere. If I am outside or if I'm traveling and I get the spirit moves me, then I get to writing. So yeah, I like my laptop.
Yeah. Well, that's wonderful. Very versatile that way as well. Do you, by the way, then, have you ever thought of this? Do you use headphones, the noise-canceling headphones, or anything like that to get the quiet that you want?
No, I've never had to do that. Usually when I'm writing, I don't have a whole lot of outside noise that distracts me. If you have a little bit going on of nature sounds and whatnot, it's okay. I mean, unless somebody's out mowing their lawn, then that's a little distracting, and I have to probably come inside. But it hasn't been too difficult for me. I haven't had to use that.
Oh, that's funny that you mentioned the mowing of the lawn, because I'll tell you what, that sound, someone mowing the lawn on a hot summer day, I just love that sound. That just sends me into the zone so quick. Just listening to that droning in the back. It's almost like, the bumblebees, flitting around the flowers kind of thing. And you're going to think this is funny. But by the way, I love to write myself, write on my iPhone. Matter of fact, I've done many of my novels, 4 of them at least, on my iPhone with my thumbs. That's how I draft it. And I go down to the local Starbucks and hang out with a cup of coffee and let the world just, come in and out the door. And I just kind of like being around people. I don't mind the noise. I just seem to use that somehow as like an enveloping atmosphere in my writing. It's just, wherever you're comfortable with, I suppose.
Right. That's exactly. Every writer, that's why I always tell people that they'll ask you, have you dealt with writer's block, and what do you do with that, and how do you, and you can share things that maybe help you, but I always say that, you have to work that out and what works best for you. Everyone has their own style, and I don't think there's a right or wrong way to write your story. You have to do what works best for you.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. And, I can't imagine how some people deal with, the whole issue of writer's block. There's been stories, there's been even movies about this whole idea, but how would you advise people to deal with the idea that they just run into a brick wall and they don't know where to go next, they don't know where this chapter is headed or whatever? How do they get through that?
Well, different things. For me, I have reading works for me. I will either pick up one of my favorite authors, and start reading. For some reason, when you're reading and the creative juices start to pick up, that it'll kind of get me energized and get me thinking about my story plot, and then I'll have to put that book down and I go to it.
Oh, let me ask you this. Do you have to read something similar to what you're writing to have that happen, or does it matter?
No, it's just, I love to read Janet Ivanovic, so I'll pick up one of her Stephanie Plum stories and just start getting into the story, and it's just reading the fun storyline of their book that, for whatever reason, starts to get my creative brain in that mode and kind of gets me in the mood to write.
Yes.
And that has helped me. Other times, I will sit down and watch a paranormal show or a movie that has that theme, that sometimes gets me excited to get back into my storyline, depending on what it is that I'm writing. So that has helped me. There have been times when I have sat down and just start writing something that makes absolutely no sense. Just open up a Word document and just start typing something silly in or something, just whatever, talking about something that happened or a thought or a memory. Just getting in that mode of writing has helped me to get out of that. But and then there are times that if I'm just not feeling it and it's just not happening, I just don't. You don't beat yourself up for it. You can't because I think the more you stress over it, the worse you make it.
Yes, right. We're our own worst enemy in some respects, in that regard.
Yeah, sure.
And you mentioned a Word document, and how do you actually recommend a certain font or a certain way to actually get your core product down on paper so that it's easily transferred, to the publishing end of it, or does it really matter, in what size font, what kind of font they use, or what kind of format they use in actually creating their raw material?
When I'm just writing, I learned it from the writing courses that I took. If you're going to be sending your manuscript off to a traditional publisher or an agent, the standard, of course, is Times Roman 12 font, and it's usually double-spaced, and I think it's an inch margin around the whole way around. That's sort of the format that they like to see because it's easier for them to read the story, and if they have to make edits to it or what have you.
Right.
So I stick with that when I'm doing the raw manuscript. Then when it's ready for publishing, that just gets transferred, into, you can download the template that Kindle Direct Publishing has for the size of book that you want. And then you can copy and paste that into their template, and then it puts it into a different font or different format that would work for the ebook or the printed version.
Yeah, wonderful. Now, just to clarify, did you say Times Roman or Times New Roman? Does it make a difference?
I think it's Times. Is it Times New Roman? I'm not even sure, actually.
Okay,
I'm not sure if it makes a difference.
Because I know that there's two different kinds of Times Roman fonts, but I think it, I've been successful with Times New Roman. I don't know if there's